Here among these mountains, the story of Ángel began. He was born into a very humble family in rural Asturias where life gave nothing away.
And well, this was a very hard life. They grew up here, but they had to go out into the world quickly to make a living because it was a very poor household. Just imagine how poor they were. When my grandmother arrived here, she only had half a cow. I mean, she had...
Half a cow?
Half a cow. It was a cow shared with a neighbor.
Everything was earned through work and effort. His ancestors lived off the little that these lands provided, until over time they managed to build more than just a livelihood. A small bar store that became a meeting point, a refuge, and a source of hope. The years went by, the family prospered, and that humble beginning grew until it became a strong company. Ángel has brought me here to go through his story from the beginning, because there are people who, the higher they go, the more strongly they look back. The love for his ancestors led Ángel to build something that we can all visit, but very few people know about. Made from the heart, and that is part of all of us. Well, look at this incredible place I'm in. I'm in a forest. Today I want to bring you a very special story because sometimes our love for our ancestors makes us do great things. Today I want to introduce a very special person I met some time ago who did something that really impressed me, which I'll reveal at the end of the video. First, I want to share his story and introduce him to you because, as I said, he is truly a great person. First of all, as always, I'm going to leave my social media links over there so you can stay a bit more up to date with the content I don't upload here on YouTube. And let's get to it. All right, now I'm going to introduce you to Ángel. Ángel, how are you?
Very well.
I really wanted my whole family to meet you because, first of all, you've become a very special person to me in my life, in my everyday life. You're a really good person, I have to say it. Now they're going to get to know you and learn a little more about your story. But why did you bring me here to this mystical forest where we are?
Well, look, I brought you here because this is where my family comes from, my grandparents, great-grandparents, my parents. And I also spent time here when they brought me up for vacations or when a sister was born, they would send me to my grandparents. And here, now you'll see where the Forcón house is, where my uncles and my father grew up.
Where the story of the name Forcón comes from. In fact, you've practically used it for your business and for other things that we'll see as we go along.
Correct.
The name changes slightly, but it makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, yeah.
So here in this forest, all your ancestors were raised.
Yes, yes, yes.
These forests are, honestly, I have to tell you, very mystical. Look, today we've had a foggy day. We're already pretty high up. I wanted to start the video here because this path with the fog seemed magical to me. I imagine your ancestors walking these paths, Ángel.
Yes.
And it must be well for you, reliving living history.
I remember everything because I know the story, because my uncles and my grandmother told me, and well, this was a very hard life. They grew up here, but they had to go out into the world quickly to make a living because it was a very poor house. So just imagine how poor it was. When my grandmother arrived, she only had half a cow. What I mean is she had...
Half a cow?
Half a cow. It was a cow shared with a neighbor.
Oh my goodness.
That says it all, doesn't it? And if I told you about my uncles, what they ate, what they had to do.
Well, you're going to tell me because actually I want you to tell me in front of those houses so people can picture where your ancestors lived. So if that's okay with you, let's keep going in the car.
Let's go.
We're traveling down this incredible road that has left me speechless, and we're going to see where your ancestors came from.
Very good. Back there behind the fog, you see on the left side, that's the granary.
Yes, you can see a little house there.
On the right was the old house. Later, you'll see the other one my father built before going to Lamiria when he was just a boy. He added the extension.
Impressive. It's only natural that you wanted to stop here to take in this view, to look at the valley filled with clouds. We came up along this path here. It really is magical, isn't it?
You can also see some cabins, and over there is something that used to be here.
Yeah, up there. You can hardly see it on camera, but there are some up there too. That's true.
Those were the cabins of people from the village of Posada who used to come up here in the summer to spend their holidays.
Oh, are you going to show them to me too?
Yes, we can go up and see them too.
That's great. Yes, yes, yes. So
They used to harvest potatoes, wheat, corn, everything over there.
impressive. Look at that image. The sun rising over the mountain, huh? It's crazy, family. I'm really enjoying it. This is one of those videos you just can't help but enjoy. So let's head in this way to the little village where Angel's family grew up.
This first house you see here, which now has a stable and so on, was the old house. This was the house where my uncles and my father grew up. The granary, which is right there at the entrance of the door, I used to spend many hours there as a child, sitting and drawing on the boards of the granary, right? And now the one you see back there is the one my father built. Before leaving for me, he built this house, did the expansion, did all that, and they moved in there. The back part belonged to a neighbor who was the one who owned the cow they shared.
Well, impressive. I have to tell you, Angel, that the image, this image, this is an Oreo, right? Yes, an Oreo with several pillars, yes. For me, the image of this Oreo with this little house, I'm impressed because it's totally from that era, you know?
Yes, yes, totally.
It's just like when you used to come here as a kid and...
Yes, yes. Well, this house belongs to a cousin of mine from Quintana who keeps it in pretty good shape. The whole roof is covered with gondoline. It's freshly painted. I haven't seen inside yet, but I think it's really nice.
How cool.
And they keep it pretty well. Down there was the cow stable, and here was the pig stable. Inside was the former chariega, where they used to hang chorizos, bacon, and similar items. And
also, the traditional wooden construction is preserved with, was this type of soil the clay you had here in the area?
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, yes, yes, I can see it there at the end. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
They used the clay here to make things with whatever materials were available.
And your grandparents, did your grandmother come here to live? Was she born here, or how was it?
My grandmother, well, I'll tell you just as it is.
Yes, the grandmother's story is the one that most...
Well, my grandmother was born in a town called Santa Marta.
Santa Marta.
Santa Marta. It's right over there, near the Tuña Bridge, right above the Tuña Bridge, isn't it? That's where she was born. And in the Soto de la Barca, there was a fair called Santa Catalina, which was a very important fair for the area. People from all over the area would gather there, and especially for buying and selling pigs. That's what Santa Catalina was most famous for. It was for the pigs. And there, at that fair, well, you knew the families because you knew everyone. That's where they arranged my grandmother's marriage.
So, your grandmother's marriage was arranged?
At that fair.
Impressive.
And she came here. She arrived here already married. And here was my grandfather, the one she married, and my grandfather's mother, her mother-in-law. And she came here, it was the three of them. They came here, and when she arrived here, she found out she had half a cow, which she shared with the other neighbor. It was, I'm telling you, pure misery.
How does sharing half a cow with a neighbor work? You can't literally split a cow in half.
No.
How does that work?
No, well, they used the cow maybe to plow the fields. And, one neighbor would take one, and someone else, people who didn't have enough maybe had just one cow, and with another from the neighbor, they would plow the fields.
My goodness, that's impressive.
It was pure harsh poverty. And she was illiterate, but she had guts and spirit. I'll tell you more about what my grandmother was like. Encarna was something else, right? And she came here, of course, she found all that, started having children. She had 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. And she started, to move forward. She started producing here everything she produced, everything she could produce. She would go up to Tineo on Thursdays to the market and would sell. At that time, they called them filibato or fielatos or something similar.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you either paid a tax on the money you brought home or had to spend it?
Or spend it there in the area.
They're in the area, right?
That's curious, isn't it?
And she, of course, she wanted to bring down the money. She wanted to bring down the money, maybe to buy the other part of the cow or to buy land. She was, even though she was illiterate, she managed very well, right? And there's a very curious story that I'm going to tell you because it was known throughout the whole Tineo-Rodical area. My grandmother was always lively and cheerful. That's just how she was. But she had to take the money down and they would search the donkeys. They would go with the donkey to take things to Tineo. But then they had to go through an area.
Like a police checkpoint, right?
A police checkpoint. I don't remember what that was called, but anyway, it had a name, maybe, I don't remember. She had to go through there.
It comes to me like an image in my head.
So in Tineo, you gathered people from Posada de Santianes. Everyone who came together. And there she came, and the others, they followed while she led because she came down in clogs with a donkey, occasionally kicking it from behind to get it moving. And the bailiff, or the person who was there to check, would ask, "Excuse me, ma'am, where are you carrying the money? Where are you carrying the money?" She would say, between my legs, sir, between my legs." "Excuse me, ma'am, excuse me." They tried to catch up with her and she would kick the donkey and go down, kick the donkey and go down, and everyone followed behind, all of them with their donkeys. And when she got to Rodical, where everyone got off in Rodical, she said, "Oh, what a relief, I have to take off."
So was it true?
Yes, she put the money in the scarf, rolled up the money and tied it like this between her legs.
Oh, damn.
When she got to Rodical, she said, she goes and says, "I'm all flushed down there."
It's normal, poor thing, what they had to do to...
It happened, well, there was little talk about how she used to bring the money down. Well, what I mean by this is that just because she was illiterate, she wasn't dumb, she was very smart, you know. She couldn't read or write. And yet, my grandfather being here, he could read and write. He was the one who made sure all the children went to school, because my father only went to school for 2 months, but he could write perfectly. Well, he was taught by my grandfather. Right now I'm here with you, but I'm remembering images, for example, here. This was the old house. This was here where I told you they grew up. This was the main entrance. Do you see the bread oven there?
And this was the oven? This here?
Yes, this was the bread oven, and inside, once you opened the door, there was the chariega, where they cooked and ate. Well, I remember one day when there was an incredible snowfall. I was here with my grandmother and my grandfather. I went outside, but would come back in to warm up by the fire since it was lit and the sausages were hanging. And I don't know what I did, but I moved the fire under the bench and it caught fire. Oh, my mother. Well, my grandmother.
You're reliving it, huh?
My grandmother ran out to put it out quickly because there was no water here. You had to fetch it from the river or fountain since there's no spring water.
We're in a high area, huh?
Well, she put it out quickly and gave a hell of a scolding.
Are you still listening to her?
Yes, I'm listening to her. Yes, yes, because she was also so witty, so charming. So my grandmother was, well, really over the top, you know. She was something else. And here, of course, now I'm here and I'm remembering. I must have been 4 or 5 years old when I was here.
The image really, Ángel, is authentic, well, from more than 100 years ago. Yes, I mean, even the door is original, right? Everything is...
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's impressive.
My grandmother bought it in Posada, had it taken apart and set up here.
Wow.
They took it apart and set it up here. The original project, what was in Posada.
Can't you tell how old it is? The structure looks old, right?
Well, this one here, figure they brought it up about 85 years ago or so.
85 years, huh?
Because my father, if he were alive today, he would be 100 years old on the 25th on St. James's Day, July 25th. He would have been 100 years old last year if he were still alive. And he was a young guy when...
I imagine you used it to store the harvest and everything you did here. So, Ángel, what did people live off of in such a remote place?
Look, there was a lot of corn here. Corn grew really well everywhere, up and down. I also picture my father building a small hut for my grandfather to sleep in so he could watch for wild boar. The neighbors up above the cabins had everything set up over the corn with ropes and cans and all that, and they would spend the night guarding against the wild boar. So here I have memories of a lot of corn, wheat. There were some amazing wheat harvests. That was what grew most, but there were also excellent potatoes and beets. The gardens did really well. There was an area, there was a valley where things grew really well.
Very fertile, huh?
Very fertile, yes, yes.
I'm looking at the picture of this car here. Angel, what memories from when I used to go to the village too? Oh man, these cars are so classic, huh? Whose is this one?
This one belongs to, well, it used to belong to my uncle Jose. Now it's my cousin's Quintana. He drove this car more than you can imagine because there was a time when he used to go to work in Guardo, in Palencia.
Wow.
He used to go with it.
With this one?
With this one.
Well, anyone who knows and understands a bit about these cars knows they're like walking tractors because they leave your head spinning by the time you get to Palencia.
Well, he was going through San Isidro.
Wow.
One time it was really snowy and he was driving. He was very brave too. He had several accidents, all of them very lucky. And well, according to what he said, he flipped it, ended up with the wheels up, and since there was so much snow, he went down the road skiing.
Oh my goodness.
With the car soaked.
Right here, as you can see. That's why when I see so many abandoned cars, Angel, I think a lot about these stories. Those cars and places like this, if you come here with no context, you start to imagine their history. Having someone who remembers their grandparents and uncles and can relive those memories with you feels very special to me.
Down here under this shed, this is where they kept the threshing machines.
Down here?
Yes.
I mean this place?
Yes, they campaigned throughout the area, going from village to village. And then?
For viewers in other countries, can you briefly explain what the mala machine is?
It's the thresher for wheat or rye, that kind of thing.
Let's leave it there, because this has a lot to do with what we're going to see later on.
A lot. We'll talk about it later.
That's where what I say was born, which for me is very special and unique.
They were born with these machines, mainly as a result of these machines.
Well, let's leave it for later. What do you think if we go up to the little cabins up here?
That sounds good to me.
There should be views now that the fog is gone.
Amazing.
All right then, let's go over there.
Let's go.
These paths hold much more than memories. They hold the lives of those who came before us and gave everything, leaving nothing written down. Walking them is to honor their history and remember where we come from. Every step we take today is supported by the effort and sacrifice of those who walked before us.
Come up here, because from here you can usually see there's a really good view. You can see all the places where my father went, where my father started building the houses, where he set up the bar store. Then that thing you see back there in the distance, which you can see just a little bit.
Yeah, look, let me see if I can zoom in on this down here because we're really far away, okay? I've zoomed in. This down here is the Forcón, right?
Yes.
The construction company you have, there are stores there.
Yes, transportation and so on. That's the business I have now, right? My father started it. He didn't see it like this. It was a small thing when he died, but we had a shed there to store a rubber chatu we had, and we were already selling cereals. Later, I'll see if I can show you another one from further down where I moved and built the house.
You can get a sense of it from here. We're so high up, but it's beautiful. And the other thing, I think it's this right here, isn't it?
Yes.
This down here?
Down here, yes, what they call the village of Posada, but the fog doesn't let us see it.
And that in the background that you're seeing there, that's Tineo, impressive, Angel, really, I mean, honestly, the views...
Well...
Unbeatable, huh?
From here you see. Well, from here, I can almost tell you that you can see half the council of Tineo, you know? If you look up all of Tineo, the good area that's flatter, and all this down here, well, here in Tunya, we have the River of Hunger nearby. That says it all.
The River of Hunger?
Of hunger. Here it was. Here until the power plant came, when jobs and work started to appear and so on. Here people lived by surviving, you know. Sheep were what there were the most of. Then industry started to appear. The power plant came, the one in Florida. Then Calabazo started. Then the thermal plant, Unit 1, 2, 3. Well, up until now they're gone now, they're gone.
Well, we can say your dad was a visionary because the poor man started out with nothing. He started building everything we're about to see now, little by little, you know?
Everything, yes. He worked as a form worker at the Calabazos Dam, and every day after finishing his shift at Calabazos, he would spend 1, 2, 3 bags of cement, and he built 2 buildings there, which you'll see.
Which we are going to see now.
4 floors each.
That's great.
At night, working at night.
Well, I really appreciate that you brought me all the way up here so that I and my whole family can enjoy these incredible views of the valley. Look, isn't it wonderful? I'm truly impressed. Now we're going to start going down. Let's check out those cabins you mentioned and a very special house along the way, which you told me has a lot of history.
Yes, the one belonging to the Regueras.
And then we'll go down to see the area where your parents started dating a little further ahead.
Yes.
We'll film the business as we pass so people can see it, stop by since it's right on the road, and maybe buy something.
That's also appreciated.
Which is very interesting. Then we'll head to the final surprise. So since we have a lot of material, let's keep moving forward. Otherwise, I think we'll end up recording for 3 hours. Let's go.
Hey. Look, Alvaro, these are the cabins. People from Posada used to come here. In the summer, they would gather the grass, harvest the crops, and when I was here with my grandmother, well, I would come here too. Well, we spent a lot of time here. I have a story to tell you about someone here, Juanito, who was like family. We were always together, and he was a little older than me, but just a little. And he would come here with the cows, so he was around here with the cows, and I would go up to be with him. And he taught me how to grab the cow's udder and squirt the stream of milk directly into my mouth.
I used to do that.
Tell that story and say, oh, how was it? Well, you would pour the stream of milk into your mouth.
You have to keep learning, since I've already forgotten how to do it.
I learned from a neighbor who brought cows up here. I was very young and he was a bit older. We used to spend time here together.
Honestly, Uncle, what a guy.
And families used to come here. We would gather here in this little field, right behind this little gate. That's where all the kids would get together. Most of them were a bit older than me, and we would spend the summer here.
You could say this is a summer pasture, right?
Yes, this is a pasture. In fact, they used to sleep here. Since they finished late, they wouldn't go down and return with the harvest. Then they would thresh the wheat here, they would bring all the grass here, and then they would bring the cows up here. So they would use everything here, and the food they would take down.
How many people could be living here during the summer season?
Well, there is 1, 2, 3 here. 4 families.
4 families?
4 families here.
Each family would have about 10 people, right?
Yeah, well, the children...
40 or 50 people here.
The old ones,
Look how beautiful, huh? This one is already getting a bit...
It's a bit neglected.
Yes, it's a little neglected. Let's show it from here so you can see it. Over here, it's full of wild boars, as you can see. They come here to eat. You can tell. The marks.
This one was already more abandoned. The others are preserved, huh?
Yes, I already saw from there that it was. This is the only one that's a little bit poor thing.
But the others aren't. The others are fine.
And this one here is beautiful. It's the tallest of all. This one you're going to see here. Look, this one is bigger. It's big.
This one was left by the heir not long ago. The cattle haven't been gone for long. Until recently, there were cows here.
He had cows?
Yes, he had 2 or 3 little cows as a hobby, He had them as a hobby. And well, he kept them. These farms around here are still being kept.
Yes, I see they're here and coming. There are still some cattle. Very interesting, Ángel. It's nice to relive history this way.
Yes. Now we're going to go to the house I was telling you about that has a lot of history, the Reguera house. Let's go so you can see it a little bit from here.
Yes, I'm curious. Let's see what story it has. You haven't told me yet. I want to know. Let's go over there.
Look, this was the house I was telling you about, Alvaro. It was in the Reguera. It was called the Reguera house, something like that. And this house in the area was a very important house, right? Besides having a lot of land that they rented out to people who had little, they also lent money. I mean, it was a very powerful family. They could rent you a piece of land or lend you money to buy something, whatever you needed.
Amazing, because now we see it completely surrounded by the forest. We walked up here and we're really in the woods now, right? This wouldn't have looked anything like this in the past. I imagine everything here would have been well maintained.
Yeah, of course it was much better maintained. For example, right here in front of us, this spot here, there used to be a mill.
Oh, this was a mill?
They had their own mill.
Wow.
It was a house. You see the granary and the house we're about to visit right behind here.
Yes, let's go if you want. Let's go over there and we'll show it up close so they can see it.
And this house, well, that's it. They stayed here. The children mostly went to Guillon. They had businesses there, and it kept being left behind, but well, it's still a family that keeps coming around here. I haven't seen them in a long time, but they still keep the house.
Wow, wow, wow. What a house, huh? For that time.
For back then, look,
Oh.
up here they had some impressive vegetable gardens.
Of course, just look at this construction. What a difference compared to the other one we saw. This was already a much more modern building, right?
Yes.
You can tell. Built, of course, on the old foundation, probably from another much older house. But look.
This was the Reguera's house. It was, you arrived, most likely with a neighbor, and say, hey, this farm, no, this one already belongs to Reguera. I'll take the rent one. This one already belongs to Reguera. I'll take the rent one. And I also know that what I had they also told me that they had a book where they would write down what they lent to each other. Like when you go to the bank to ask for a loan for something, for a car or whatever, they would give everything they could to buy a cow or buy a piece of land or...
And well, look, the river is right here. Look how beautiful it is. Let me zoom in for you for a second. So you can see how the river flows, even though the colors aren't the same as what Ángel and I are seeing. It's wonderful. Just imagine everything was fixed up back then. The river flows through here to the old mill that used to be there.
A dam was there and passed through this side. Water for the mill flowed here.
How beautiful. Well, that's it. Very interesting, Ángel. Thank you so much for showing us this little piece of history as well.
Yes, of course, and a story that...
Everything adds up.
If you don't say this, no one will know.
Of course, everything adds up. In the end, this is also very close to where he lived with his family, his little village, his tiny hometown up there, because that place, what was it called? It was
El Forcón.
Yes, but it was a hamlet, a small settlement. How could we define something like that?
El Forcón, the house of La Reguera, was a group of houses.
It was a cluster of houses.
Of houses, yes.
It's not a town itself like a union, but...
It wasn't a town.
Scattered houses, but they formed a...
You realize that electricity never reached here.
Never here, huh?
No. I grew up there with the oil lamp.
That's intense.
It was all oil lamps. Down there in the shop, when my father had the shop and all, he used to sell that carbide there. For all these villages up here that, well, up there around 85 or so, electricity finally arrived, but never here.
Never here, huh?
No, it was too expensive to bring here.
I imagine that all these forests that now look neglected used to feed all the people here, right?
Look, everything we'll see over there used to be chestnut trees.
All chestnut trees?
All chestnut trees. So the chestnuts were for the pigs, for the house. They put them in the corridors of the granary, what they called mayuca chestnuts, which were the dried chestnuts. So that was, and besides, for example, someone from this house had a store in Guillon, and during chestnut season, he would come every week to buy chestnuts from the area to sell them in the store in Guillon.
Yes, we're talking about all these forests that you're seeing around here now, all of this here, all of this. They used to be huge chestnut trees, and now, Ángel, they're all sick.
Yes, because you see, when the chestnut trees were fertilized, back then there were people who used to shake them, which was with long sticks to hit them so that the chestnuts would fall. That was what natural pruning was like. But now all that's gone, the chestnuts fall on their own. What falls is for the wild boars. Nobody collects them, and those chestnut trees are getting sick.
There's nothing to be done?
There's nothing to be done. No.
They're all there, even if you see them, and they're very pretty. I realized this when we went chestnut picking this year, and finding just 4 good chestnuts was harder than you can imagine. Well, anyway, let's keep going, and now it's time to go down to the area where your parents...
started their life.
They started their life a bit more prosperous, coming from having absolutely nothing, from being poor, to aspiring to grow and to become who you are today, thanks to them, because everything is connected, obviously.
Of course. I learned a lot from them.
Well, let's go down, because now the really interesting part is about to begin.
Let's go.
We're coming down the mountain, and the first thing we find is the little village. We're entering it now, right?
Of Posada.
of Posada. How nice. You were telling me about it earlier. Is that where you came down to?
Where did my father go down to? Well, my father came down here right after marrying my mother. They both came down here, but they went to live under a granary. I was born under a granary, which belonged to an aunt who was already married here in the village. I was born under a granary. And we stayed there until he started building what you're going to see now, which was the first house. That's when he built the house and opened a bar store.
Look how beautiful this is, huh? How beautiful. This was the village you saw from above. Look, yeah, we were high up, huh?
Here we go. I'm going to show you where my father started his business. He built a house little by little after coming home from work, which is the one you see here, and there he opened a bar store.
Wow, so this whole block we're seeing here?
Yes, he built it little by little on Sundays when he rested after coming home from work. He spent quite a long time working as a form worker at the Salto de la Barca de Calabazos. He would come only at night, use a bag or two of cement, build up the walls, and then on the weekends, with the family, brothers-in-law, they would lend a hand, and he would pour the slabs, and that's how he built the first one. And then he set up the bar store, and then we moved to live here. From the granary where we used to live underneath, we moved to live here. And then he built this one next to it, and here he set up a feed warehouse mills. I mean,
this is where Forcón started.
Yes.
This is where Forcón began, which we'll see now.
That's right. Yes, there was the store, then the feed warehouse. He also had a carpentry shop. He made furniture too. Well, he did anything.
An artist.
An artist, yes.
And he worked like a champion. The bar store was down here in this area.
That door was the bar store.
And who lives here now?
Well, now, all the time, my sister Mariflor, who's right behind me, and then I have two other sisters who each have an apartment here as well.
Ah, that's great. And where is the bread box that...
I'll show you the bread box. It's right here behind. Right here, well...
How nice.
This is where I was born. Well, this is now the granary, but the area where it was a little room right under the granary, and that's where my father and mother lived, and that's where I was born.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
This house was where one of my father's sisters was married. And they left it so he could come here, so he could, from here he would go to work and do this, because otherwise, up in Forcón, it was too far to...
Of course, we've come down a lot, you can tell.
Yes, it's about 3 kilometers.
No matter how much I focus now, the sun is right there on the mountain where we've been.
Yes.
Well, damn, you must have a lot of memories here.
A lot.
And now this has grown to a level big, and not only that, but thanks to that growth, you've been able to honor the memory of your ancestors and those of many Asturians with what you've done, which is what we're going to show at the end. What do you think if we go see how this has grown and what it has become, and then we head to the final surprise?
That sounds great to me.
Come on, let's go over there.
Okay. Well, here you can see how everything that my parents started in Posada ended up under the granary where I was born, what they started to build. Well, this is what we gradually became. My father started it, then I continued, and here we provide a service to the whole area. As for grocery stores, building materials, hardware, key duplication, we have our own workshop for our trucks for transportation and maintenance. And the company, the center of the company is here where the offices are.
Wow, impressive. Ángel, I can imagine the effort and sacrifice it takes to have every single one of these vehicles. I imagine you serve a lot of companies that need bricks as well as anything else they might need for construction. You mean the hardware store? Everyone comes here since there's not much else nearby.
Here we have everything you need to build a complete house.
A complete house, huh?
Complete, yes. Here you can get tiles, roof tiles, bricks, blocks, concrete, well, not concrete, aggregates, cement, all kinds of mortars. We have almost everything because also for our own use, for dealing with dampness, all these unusual things. Since we also have supplies for the company because we do maintenance on hydroelectric plants and so on, so we also have them available for people here who need them to seal a leak or waterproof a section of wall.
I'm thinking, Ángel, If your ancestors could see you right now from up there, I believe they're always watching us. But I think that if they saw how hard you fought to build everything you've built here, look, here are the workshops where all of this is the workshops where you all repair the trucks. You try to run the company yourselves and keep costs as low as possible.
Yes, the maintenance, we handle all the maintenance for the trucks from here. Then, if there's a major breakdown or something, well, then you have to take it to the dealership.
Of course, of course.
Because we don't have specialists here either and so on.
Look, the Guardian is right there.
We have the car wash. We have a car wash for the company's cars, trucks, and vans.
That's great.
And well, this is where we start and work. We work a lot to...
Well, yes, I can imagine. I can imagine that this doesn't just create itself, that you have to fight a lot here. I love the place where it's located because, look, we're surrounded by mountains. We're on the road to Cangas del Nartea. In case anyone ever wants to buy something or visit you and see your business, we're on the road to Cangas del Nartea.
It's called the Nartea Corridor?
Right by the roadside, you'll see it. Hardware store. And it's the only thing you'll find because there's nothing else and people can stop by and visit you here. But what really stands out to me is that this place is what allowed you to fulfill a dream of honoring the memory, right?
I think so. For me, the greatest pride I have, and that's what we're going to see, is that in some way, it all came from the effort and work that's here.
I know.
And we kept doing the other thing, right?
Well, I'm really looking forward to showing it. I think we've left you hanging long enough, so let's get in the car. We wanted to show you this because, in the end, it's the whole story of his family's succession, his life, the why, and how he achieved it. Everything you're about to see now is truly impressive. And you were probably going to ask how someone can acquire something private that is nothing, right? You finance yourself with your work.
All with work.
In fact, we'll get into more details later that, for me, are really impressive, okay? I'll bring it up later so you know what I'm talking about. But honestly, for a private individual, a lot of people would naturally wonder how someone can have everything you have in the place we're going to visit. But it's all about this, a lot of work and a place like this.
And also constant effort. In a way, you punish yourself too. I say punish, just to put it that way, because what you do with pleasure and love doesn't really feel like punishment.
I know, but it also takes a lot of time.
But it takes a lot of time, a lot of vacations, a lot of weekends, so a lot of dedication.
I know because I know you. Now they'll understand. So let's not waste time and go over there.
All right, come on. See you in a bit.
Get ready to travel through time. This is one of the most unknown museums in Asturias, with an incalculable value, a place where time seems to have stopped. Here, Ángel has dedicated his life to preserving the memory of those who worked in silence. Where are we?
Well, look, this is the Las Hallgallas de Silviela Museum. It's a private museum. It's a collection that I've been putting together for many years. There are also donations from people who give me things. I mean, I've either bought, been given, or somehow received all of this, right? Everything you see here is very diverse, from tractors, agricultural machines, industrial machines, to everyday life items. All of that makes for a very varied collection. Well, if you pay a little attention, especially to the machinery, all of this is a bit like what you do with your videos that you record.
Yes, to preserve the memory of what is being lost, right? Because in the end, everything you've recovered here, I have to say that everything works. I mean, everything is operational.
That's right.
Restored by you and working.
I just can't imagine restoring something just for looks, no. It's all mechanical. It has to have documentation, be able to go out on the street and run. Everything here works.
Wow. Not every museum can say that, and even less so a private one. I also have to point out that even though you're seeing a lot of vehicles here, there are a ton from everyday life, like you said, right? It covers themes from the start of the century and earlier.
From before, yes.
Because you have, when I was here, you had trailers from around the year 1400, if I remember right.
Cars from 1400 and something.
Cars from the country dating to 1400?
1400, yes.
That's easy to say, huh?
Yes, there are a couple of them. Then there are, well, some of the first typewriters, the first washing machines that were, well, I have a washing machine, for example, from 1890.
Wow, impressive.
Vacuum cleaners from the very first ones, radios, record players, megaphones, fishing equipment. Back when you had to make all the parts at home because there was nowhere to buy anything, you had to make the sinkers, the bait fish, and everything.
And how did this start? Where did this start?
Well, look, I think I'm going to take you there. I think I'm going to take you to the place to show you why it started and how it started.
Let's go there, because with all there is,
This thing you see here is a threshing machine, which I mentioned to you at the beginning, where it was kept in that place in El Forcón.
Ah, so this is the machine that was kept there.
That was kept there. This is a machine that's for, we call it the maladora, but it's a threshing machine, right? It separates the grain from the straw. What you see there is wheat. And this, well, it was the greatest celebration in the villages. It was kind of this, right? The time of threshing, because in a way, if the harvest was good, you would store enough bread for the whole year in the pantry. So for the people, it was a celebration, right? You had to work, it was hard, but it was a celebration. So my father and my uncles had this machine because they were always like two partners. And they would go from village to village. They carried three pieces: the thresher, the sheller, the engine, and the winnower.
And the winnower is this machine here, right?
The winnower was the machine that cleaned and produced clean wheat at the end, right? So this would go from village to village. The people from the next village who needed to thresh would come with cows, 3 pairs of cows. They'd hitch them up and take them to the next village. And that's how they did the work all summer. They started in mid-July and kept going through July, August, September, and in some cases even until October. They kept them in the threshing floors and did the same route every year, and then they stored them until the following year in the shed you've seen there, right?
Wow, impressive. What stands out to me the most is that this is the original machine from your ancestors, and from what you're telling me, this is what started your whole passion for collecting all these machines.
Exactly.
Look at everything he has around here. Honestly, I have to tell you something. Look, I won't be able to show you the whole museum. In fact, if there's a reason I've made this video, it's because, first of all, Ángel is a really good person. He's not trying to advertise anything. He's just a very good person who has done something that, to me, is impressive. And I'm going to give you an overview of everything that's here, because it deserves for you to come and see it. It's a museum that really needs your help to stay open, because it's a private collection. And I'll tell you more about it later, because Ángel is very involved with absolutely everything. He's someone who does things from the heart. We have machines over there. Well, this machine here, maybe we'll talk about it a bit later, because it's also a very special machine. In fact, it comes from Somiedo. Everyone who watches me knows I have a very special connection with Somiedo. And it's also a very special machine, right, Ángel?
Yes, that's a spelt thresher.
Spelt thresher. Let's get closer, because honestly, when they explained this machine to me when I was here, it seemed magical to me, because if I remember correctly, Ángel, correct me if I'm wrong, it was designed by a person without formal education in a mountain village, and all the parts were designed through trial and error.
Exactly.
Right? You can probably...
No, that's right. This is a device. Let's put it that way. There are no two machines alike. First, because spelt was only harvested in a strip of Asturias. So there was no industry interested in making these in series, because there wasn't enough for a long production run. So there are more of these machines in Belmonte de Miranda, in Somiedo, in Salas. There are still some machines left around there, but no two are the same. So what this does is the same as with wheat, but the spelt is well encapsulated. The grain, which requires a very different process from wheat. On the farm, it's harvested differently. Just collect the ear of grain, then you have to break up that ear of grain and throw out all the chaff from it. And what's left is what they call the erga, and inside that erga, as they call it, there's a capsule that contains 2 grains of spelt. So that has to go through a pounder, which is something very similar, to millstones, which press it. They call it the concave, and what it does is hull the grain from the outer husk, right? And then all of that goes to this machine that cleans it and sorts it. And just think about how far it goes, that these stones, if you press them too much, they can crush the grain and turn it into flour, which means you're doing a process that contaminates everything. That's no good. The grain has to come out whole, but that's why you can't press the stones too much. So about 20 or 25% doesn't get processed properly. But after the process, in the end, all that came out wrong, she collects it again and puts it back into the stones to do it again.
And all of this came from the mind of a person without education, without resources, because all of this, as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's made with metal sheets that the man recycled. Just like all of this was built to measure, with many mistakes and many successes, because of the speed of the belts, the air pressure. I mean, there are many things to take into account.
There are things to take into account because each machine runs at a certain speed and all the parts move with a single motor. So then you have to distribute the belts. Some run at higher speeds and others at lower speeds. So, I mean, I'm sure that in some cases he made a mistake and had to make a bigger pulley.
Yes, it's impressive.
Surely.
I also think that the people who watch us, Ángel, are people from that time. Many of them have lived through it and know what we're talking about. This is a relic. This was a donation, if I remember correctly. It was a donation that was made to you, right?
Yes.
From Somiedo. And they really are. This is priceless. I mean, this is pure history and pure ingenuity from someone, as I said, who needed to make things faster and cheaper with parts from home and managed to build a machine that still works today.
It works. Yes, and both work perfectly. I mean, clean grain comes out, the waste comes out on one side, but no grain goes to the waste and no waste goes with the grain, so it does the process perfectly.
Perfect. Here are a few hints to give you an idea of what's here. This that we have here is a hearse. From what year?
From the 18th century.
From the 18th century? Authentic?
Authentic.
With his coffin, I mean, well, folks, this is just a glimpse of everything here, of things that have really caught my attention personally, including this, which is a delivery room.
A delivery room lined with calfskin.
What year is this from?
It dates back to the 18th century.
Amazing, huh? Look. So, you mean they washed the baby here when he was born?
They washed him there, yes. Here the lady would give birth. She would put her legs here, and those ropes were for getting into different positions and to hold on to make an effort in different positions.
Well, impressive. Then you have a room here, really, guys, it's very big. You have to come with patience because there are so many things that you really need to take it easy. Yes, so you can appreciate it.
Yes, in this room, everything is, well, pretty close together, and there are a lot of things, right? I mean, you can see how many types of telephones there are.
Telephones, typewriters, weights.
Scales.
I mean, scales, and Roman weights too. You have sewing machines, clocks, pianos, the first camera, even measurements for recruits for soldiers. All right, Ángel, I don't want to reveal too much, but I do want to mention one more detail here at the museum. The green vehicle over there, which has a lot of history for you, right?
A lot.
That's right. We could say that's one of the very first things you used to work with, right?
It was the first vehicle I ever drove. It was the vehicle I learned to drive with. And at 16 years old, I was already delivering feed. With it, I went through the villages and collected the milk.
Wow, I want them to see you here beside it. Come here, Ángel, so they can see you. What model is this Land Rover? Is it a Land Rover Santana?
Land Rover Santana, we call it the Land Rover Chato.
The Chato, huh?
The Chato, yes. The Chato, because even though the mechanics were from a regular one, they adapted the cabin to have a bigger bed for carrying things.
I want you to see that it's spotless, obviously. This is the one that I imagine is the one you care about the most in the whole collection.
I'm very fond of it because I spent many years with it. I opened it many times because I wore out my youth with it too. I was 16. I wanted to race with it. I broke axles. I broke the gearbox, but then I had to fix it, you know.
I'm even going to leave a picture I have here, which is a surprise for you to see in the video, because it's a picture of you delivering milk, right? You used to do a lot of deliveries of...
We used to collect milk.
You used to collect milk?
We used to collect milk and sell the feed, but then we also delivered, in addition, things from the store. Since we had a store, a bar, a shop, so we even delivered frozen hake, chickens, sugar, coffee, everything people asked us for. We delivered all that while distributing the feed, and then I would come back collecting the milk.
Impressive. Look, soda trucks. Well, I think, Ángel, that will stop the video here because I really want you to come and see everything there is around here. Really, you also have... There's a topic I want to talk about, which for me is truly worthy of taking my hat off. You, besides having this museum, have people working here who have special conditions, and if it weren't for you, they wouldn't have easily found work in the area.
Not in the area. It's a special employment center. All the employees here have, well, disabilities, and, well, we're working with them, and
I have to tell you that they are, and I'm telling you this because when I met you through them, and I have to tell you that they are delighted with you. I don't know if they tell you that very often, but I can guarantee you they didn't stop telling me. Whenever I visited the museum, they always said how much they appreciated Ángel, praising his passion while explaining everything. Really, when you come here, the people helping you will explain everything so passionately as if they were Ángel's children. I mean, it's really impressive, honestly. You have to come. I'm going to leave all the information in the description, all the links, Instagram, everything you might need so you can support them and come here. If you're on vacation, you can meet him because you're also around here.
I'm around here quite a lot.
They can hear your story directly and ask any questions not covered in the video.
At your service.
There are a lot of things we didn't cover, and I think we'll record a few more details that I really liked. So, Ángel, I appreciate this walk through your family's and Asturias history, as it's ultimately a general story.
Yes, it's general, yes.
Yes, and I really appreciate truly that you have dedicated this time to me and my family so they can get to know you.
Well, I also thank you very much because, and it's really something to appreciate that someone has the passion you have for this as well.
Well, it's just something I have inside me, really, and I've really enjoyed recording this video, honestly. So, as I said, I'll leave his social media over there, also in the description. I'll also take the chance to leave mine in case you want to stay a bit more up to date with the content I don't upload here on YouTube, and I'll see you next Tuesday.